Hi, everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is June 5th. It's a Wednesday. It's 2024 still, obviously. We haven't jumped into a time travel device since last night, have we? I can't speak for everybody, just for me. I haven't. Welcome to the show. Have you ever had that feeling you've forgotten something? I've got that feeling right now. I don't know why. I'll probably find out as we go through the show. Oh, that's what that was. And it was so very important. Ken Drysdale is on the show tonight. He has been making the podcast rounds for the past week or so. Today, he's already been on a couple of shows, and he's going to appear on my show tonight for a couple of reasons. We'll ask him about the NCI in Regina over the weekend. Yes, Ken is still one of the commissioners of the National Citizens Inquiry, but also he is the co-founder of an organization called Manitoba Stronger Together, who is putting on an event, a Stronger Together event, solutions-based event coming up June 21st, June 22nd, June 23rd in Beausejour, Manitoba. So we're going to ask him first, why Beausejour, Ken? Why did you pick Beausejour? And we'll go from there. Ken Drysdale joins the show in just a couple of minutes. And you know what? I really have to give it to Kevin and Anna Sigurdsson from Canada Nano Silver. They have been doing whatever they can to help financially with Manitoba Stronger Together in this big event coming up. And that includes donating sales, partly, not all, but partly from every sale they've made for the past month or so to this event to help Ken and Rosalie, get it going. I mean, it's so awfully awkward to ask somebody, hey, how much have you dropped on this? Right? So I'm not going to ask Ken that, because to me, that's rude. That's kind of breaking the social contract. But I do want to stress to you guys that Ken does this for the right reasons. And I'm saying this while he's off screen because I don't want to embarrass him on screen. And I said this last night in case you missed that part of the show, so I'll say it again tonight. I think Ken is one of the most honest people I've met in the last 4 years within this movement. And that's saying a lot, because there are a lot of honest people. And Ken and Rosalie are doing this for the very right reason of trying to save our society, our way of life, from this globalist threat we all face. He doesn't care about the money. It's not a big deal. He goes to his pocket all the time to do things, to appear at events, to get the word out. And he has gone to above and beyond this time. So we'll bring Ken on in a few minutes. But Kevin and Anna over at Canada Nano Silver have been contributing as well with sales from the products. Like the silver lozenges, reach for the Silver Biotics lozenges with vitamin C to quickly cool and soothe a sore throat with an added boost of support for your immune system. Each package contains 21 individually wrapped lozenges. You can look on the screen here and see exactly what's in them and what's not in them. Soothe and cool your throat while supporting your immune system with SilverCeutical technology, safe and effective alternative to products made with chemicals, made with cooling organic mint and soothing organic honey, made with natural and organic ingredients, gluten-free, soy-free, nut-free, does not contain preservatives, dyes, or artificial flavors. Get this at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. If you're looking for a retail location near you, click on the Retail Locations tab. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the Contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Hello, Chuck, watching in Kamloops tonight. Michael is watching in Brampton. Linda, hello in Waterloo. Linda's watching in Trenton. Wallace is watching tonight. Here we go again, Wallace says. Cheryl is watching tonight in Alberta. Kath, hello, Wendy Ann is watching in Kingston tonight. Gerald is in Toronto. Rhonda's watching in Labrador City. Hello, John, watching in Swan River. Patricia's in Grimsby. Hello, Sue in Peace River, Alberta. Chris is watching in northern New York State. Lisa's watching in Hamilton. Barbara's watching in Glenora. Hello, Linda in Lady Lake. Luella's watching in Red Deer. Bob is watching in Sudbury, and Miranda's watching in Calgary, and there's so many more of you. Thank you for being here tonight, you guys. We really appreciate you coming by every single night, even if it's only for 5 minutes to check out the crowd and see what's going on, to see if you're missing anything. If you're watching on Facebook or on X tonight, please like and share or repost and give us a heart. It's very important we get this out to as many people as we possibly can. Hello, everybody watching on Rumble, like Claude K. 72022 in Hearst, Ontario, or Nake A42 in Panoka, or Mommy's Little Monster watching in Aurelia, or Jimmy James in Calgary. Susie Q is watching tonight. Hello, Midnight Oil in Provost, Alberta. Mama Lee is watching tonight, and Tudor53 is watching in Martin Beach, Alberta. If you're watching on Rumble tonight, don't forget to thumb it out to the 100 million strong Rumble community. It really helps to circulate the show within the Rumble community. If you want to share outside of Rumble, I suggest you hit the share button, and that will highlight the URL above your screen. From there, you can copy and paste into your favorite location, whatever that happens to be. But again, the most important thing, and somebody emailed me today and said, Shadow, why are you lecturing us? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, that big speech you gave last night about getting involved. I've been involved longer than you. And I said, well, that's fantastic. But from my experience and from what I've seen, it seems that most people are happy to bitch and moan, getting together once a week with friends for chicken wings and playing darts and having a couple of beers and then going home and not really doing anything, because after all, what can we do? I'm only one person, after all. I said 7 billion people, or 8 billion now. But we do have some answers for you. Ken Drysdale is here. Ken is the co-founder of Manitoba Stronger Together. He's also a National Citizens Inquiry Commissioner. Hey, Ken, by the way, thanks for coming on tonight. I know you've done a lot of these today. It's been a long day of podcasting for you. But how was the NCI over the weekend? Was it the same as last year?
No, you know what? I had to admit, I didn't quite know what to expect. As you know, the commissioners are independent of the commission, so we're not involved in any of the witness, getting the witnesses or interviewing witnesses. I don't know who the witnesses are until my bum is sitting in the chair in the morning and they pass a list to me that day. And so I didn't know what to expect, but it was fantastic. With all of the stuff that I've learned about what happened, traveling across the country for 2.5 months last year, writing a 5,400 page report on it, I thought I knew a lot. But holy smokes, we had people.
There's more? How could there possibly be more?
We had two really interesting experts come and talk about shedding. And they got right down to the scientific level and brought it up to a place where we could understand. We had experts in from California. One lady who studies the biome, if you know what that means. That means the inside of your gut, and they've been finding spike proteins there. And she was talking about what that means. We had a retired police detective on talking about exactly what they're doing to Helen Gruss in Ottawa. If you remember, she's the constable that tried to do her job and they put her up on charges, and she's in those hearings like this week. Yeah. Oh gosh, we had it was an incredible 3 days. It really was. I'd say that even if I wasn't there. It was an incredible 3 days.
Is there more coming up that we can expect?
Well, what we're going to do is, based on the 3 days in Regina, we're going to write a supplemental report to our original report from November of last year. And then they are talking now about coming back sometime in the fall. And the reason we came back now is because there's a lot going on with the vaccines. The government's pushing them on children. As you know, Florida banned them, but our government is still pushing them. And so we thought compelled that we had to come back out and report to you, or at least investigate what the latest information on the vaccines were. So there is talk about coming back in the fall. I'm not sure what the subject matter might be. There is also talk about perhaps NCI is the only organization who has the moral authority in Canada to investigate other things. Perhaps, I don't know what those other things might be. I know they're polling the Canadian people and asking them what they want.
You know, it's interesting you bring up vaccines, and the approach in the United States has been so radically different from Canadians. And I was talking last night about, we have to find our guts up here, and we have to start standing up and speaking up against all of this nonsense. The way they do in the United States, they're grilling Anthony Fauci in a commission a couple of days ago, and there's still video coming out. I'm going to play some more of that a little bit later on in the show tonight, but they are going hard on this guy. And it came out that he said that that 6-foot distancing, I don't know where that came from. It just came from somewhere. And then the CDC started pushing it. And so finally today, we got video of one of the Congress people asking, why didn't you feel compelled to go to the CDC and say, hey, this is not really based in any kind of science. Why are we pushing this so hard? Because it's not effective, or maybe not. We don't know this. It's not. How can you sit there and say it's safe and effective if you don't know for sure? But he didn't really have an answer for that. Here in Canada, Ken, our politicians are still largely mute on this. Like Pierre Poilievre won't stand up in the House of Commons and question the vaccines. There's no commission. There's no committee on questioning the vaccine safety and efficacy. They know. We know now that they knew what was in them before they came out. I mean, there's so much damning information, and yet still these politicians remain mute. Why do you think it's so different up here than it is down there?
That's an interesting question. And it's actually worse than people think. Nadine Wilson, let me back up. In the hearings in Regina, we, believe it or not, we subpoenaed every single MLA in Canada from every single province across the country, and we subpoenaed every single MP in Ottawa. None of them showed up except one, Nadine Wilson, who's a sitting 4th-term MLA in Saskatchewan. And what she told us, I don't think people understand. And her testimony, by the way, is now on the NCI Rumble site. There was 36 hours of testimony, and they're splitting them up, but hers is up there right now. So Nadine Wilson, 4-term MLA, and I asked her about these things. I said to her, very, very point blank, I said, when you were considering putting in the mandates for masks in the Saskatchewan legislature, can you tell me how many doctors, qualified doctors, and how many qualified scientists came into caucus and discussed with you all of the issues surrounding masks so that you could make an informed decision? She said none. I asked her, how many scientists and doctors came into caucus to discuss shutting down the schools so that you could make an informed decision as a representative of the people? She said, none. I asked that again and again. And I said to her, well, if there was no discussion in caucus, and for people who don't know, caucus just means the representatives in the legislature that are members of the particular party in power. So that's all that means. Yeah. And I said to her, well, if you didn't discuss any of these things in caucus in the government, how did you make the decision? And she said, well, Premier Moe went to Ottawa, and when he came back, he said, this is the way it's going to be. I said, you mean to tell me the people's representatives didn't have any say and no discussion about it? And she said, yes. And you could see her testifying under oath and saying that. So, and then I asked her what happened in her riding when the lockdowns were on. And what she told me was really interesting. She told me that except for her and the Saskatchewan legislature, every single constituency office closed. They weren't answering phones. They weren't answering emails. And she kept hers open. So I said to her, well, that must be because you can catch COVID over the phone or from an email. And she looked at me like I was crazy, which of course it was a crazy question. And I said, then why did they all close? And she shrugged her shoulders. And I said, did they get paid? And of course, we all know the answer to that. So, when you see what's actually going on in the legislatures, when your elected representatives have no say, there's no discussion, And then Canadians have no idea what's going on because, somewhat unlike the United States, although there is some issues there, we do not have a free press. We have newspapers who get most of their yearly budget from the government. We have CBC, which well, we all know what they did. We have the same with all of the other legacy media outlets. All of them are trying to avoid saying anything. I mean, gosh, did you know that months ago, I think it was 4 or 5 months ago, the CDC actually declared that one of the main side effects of the mRNA vaccines were you got COVID in the first 7 days? Ever wonder why they said you weren't vaccinated until after 14 days? I'm not making this up, folks. You go look at the CDC website. It's on there. So
Yeah.
at least in the United States, they're big enough and they're rich
Aggressive.
enough that
I
they
mean,
have alternatives.
you spent some time down in California, which a lot of people would compare in terms of politics, political society, to be a lot like Canada because of Gavin Newsom and their Democratic slant there. I think they've been Democratic since Jesus wore short pants, but there's still a lot of Americans who live in California, and they'll tell you what they think about whatever, no matter who they're talking to. So, and that's what you and Rosalie both told me that day a couple of weeks ago when we were having lunch. So could it be just their upbringing?
You know,
The way they think?
That's an interesting question. First, somebody asked me today where Rosalie is, and as you know, she's always here with me. And I said, well, she's in the land of lunatics right now. And someone said to me, what's she doing at the Ledge? And no, what I meant was she's down in California right now. California is deceptive for us. The lunacy is in the big cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco. I have a son living in Bakersfield, and he says it's completely conservative. I have another son living in Irvine, California, completely conservative. So it's these large centers, and you can theorize till the cows come home about why that is. I mean, it's the same in Canada with Toronto. You know, when you start pushing people together like this, something happens. And I know there's all kinds of psychological experiments. Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Like, 'cause when people are allowed to be on their own and start thinking for themselves, logic starts to seep in because they're not being influenced by the crazy neighbor, right? The drag queen who comes home at 3 o'clock in the morning from some party or reading a story hour or whatever, right? So you're not seeing that all the time. You're seeing regular, normal people going to work, going for lunch, whatever. You're not influenced by all this wackadoo nonsense. But in the big cities, it's different. I mean, Winnipeg's even like that, for goodness sakes.
Yeah,
So,
you know, you're right. In the more rural areas, you're more connected to reality. You know, I was talking to somebody, I can't remember whether they're from Montreal or Toronto, and we were talking about all of the herd culling that's going on. And you know, they didn't really care that they were getting rid of cows because they can always get their milk from Safeway. I mean, that's ridiculous.
you're not serious. I thought
I
you were
am
joking. No, you're kidding.
No,
You're kidding.
I am not. I am not kidding you. Shadow, the things I have seen in traveling from coast to coast in this country during the NCI is it's amazing. The conversations I've had, the things I've heard.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand.
So, you know, that's what I think one of the things that Manitoba Stronger Together is all about, right? It's about encouraging people to step up, stand up, speak out. And so, you know, as kind of an offshoot of Manitoba Stronger Together on June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, you guys, and I'm very proud to be a part of this, by the way, and Kevin and Anna from Canada Nano Silver also. Here it is, folks, the Stronger Together Conference, which is coming up, as you can see on your screen, June 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Ken and I, obviously, are going to be there. We've got Garnet Harper, who's going to be there. You've told me Garnet's story from what you've heard from his brothers and his wife. And we're going to have a sit-down, kind of a fireside chat with them, I think, on the Saturday night. Am I correct?
Saturday night, yeah, and that's kind of and in addition to that, Shadow, we've got Mark Trozzi, Dr. Mark Trozzi, and Dr. Bill Code are going to come in and be a part of the sum up on that discussion so that we can talk about exactly what happened in the Canadian medical system. I mean, a lot of people know about the story of Sheila Lewis, but very few people know about Garnet, and it's time Canadians know.
Can you give us a Cole's notes on that before we get the entire thing at the conference?
Garnet was executed by the Canadian healthcare system. In my opinion, he was murdered. He, as a young man, he discovered that he had some form of diabetes, and he went to the hospital for treatment. During the treatment, it destroyed his kidneys. Fast forward till he was about 34 years old during the lockdowns, and his kidneys started to fail. He needed a transplant. They refused to give him a transplant unless he took the COVID biological shot, which of course he had reasons why not, considering what the medical system had already damaged his kidneys. So he refused. So they said, no kidneys for you. His two brothers stood up and said, we will donate kidneys to him. The doctors refused. It went back and forth, and there's a lot of nuances to this story, but it went back and forth until finally he slipped into a coma and he was going to die. And the hospital had treated him and his family like lepers the whole time. When he'd come for treatment to the hospital, the security guards would meet him at the door and escort him in, guard him, and escort him out because he was unvaccinated. And by the way, this wasn't in 2021. This was in the fall of 2022, the spring of 2023, when we all knew that the vaccines were dangerous and they didn't prevent spread and they didn't prevent infection. So he's in a coma. He's about ready to die. And the same people that treated him the way they did came into there with his widow, Megan, and said they wanted to harvest his organs. Anyway, he passed because they refused to give him his kidney transplant.
Did they at any point, because when they came in and said, okay, we'd like to harvest his organs, I'm sure that the family was shocked that the medical system would have the balls after the way they were treated to ask that question. But did the person doing the asking, or any of the people, for that matter, involved in asking, ever try to shame the Harpers for saying no?
Well,
that you're aware of?
I don't know that, but Megan will be able to tell us, because and by the way, we've had Devon and Gal, the two brothers, on our Zoom meeting call a couple of weeks ago, as you know. But this is the first time, to my knowledge, that Megan is stepping up and speaking out. And by the way, they have 5 children. So they not only murdered him, but they widowed his young wife and left 5 children fatherless. That's the love and care and respect that our healthcare system showed to the Canadian people. And by the way, there's one other little thing on this. I'm not sure that you know. When these security guards for months were coming in and escorting the unvaxxed criminal in for treatment and escorting him out again and so on and so forth for months, after Garnet passed, some months after that, they discovered a car parked in the parking lot of the Sudbury Hospital with a dead body in it. And that body had been sitting there for 4 months. And they were clearing snow around this car. You think maybe if the security were doing their jobs, they would have discovered that. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
No, they were too busy looking for unvaccinated villains, Ken. So that, I still, when we look back on this stuff, I still can't believe all of these things actually happened, and people became so single-minded and so authoritarian, and they refused to look back and see the way they got today, right? Guys like Chris Cuomo, I'm not sure if you're aware of what he's been up to lately, but he came on and claimed that he's vaccine injured now and he's on ivermectin. This is only a couple of years after on CNN, him and Don Lemon ridiculing anybody who didn't want to take the vaccine, who thought that COVID was being overblown and that we were being irresponsible, and he was shaking his fist at all of the United States of America. And now he seems to have turned over a new leaf. He was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast last week trying to defend himself and not doing a very good job of it. In front of Candace Owens and a few other people who were really raking him over the coals. Who else have we got visiting us in Beausejour? And I want to ask you why Beausejour in a second, but I'll save it. We got Dr. Trotzy, as you say here. Serena Freedom Bear is coming out,
Yep.
I see here.
Yep.
Uh,
Coates is coming up. We have a big contingent of people from Quebec. Look at, you got on your screen right there, Julie Levesque. Julie Levesque is a true patriot that we don't know about in Western Canada. She's an independent journalist, and she was on the front lines of fighting all this crazy stuff when it was coming out. Miriam Bohemier, another great patriot in Quebec that's coming out. You've got Bernard Massey there. He was one of the commissioners of the NCI and is very heavily involved in politics there. We have folks from the Maritimes on there. We've got Catherine Christensen, who's the lawyer defending the soldiers against the mandates. We have
oh, yes.
we've got Rodney Palmer on there. We've got, oh my goodness, we've got people.
You got Lee Vossen from Students Against Mandates. I haven't seen Lee in a while. It's going to be good to see her.
Yeah,
That's
we do.
Great.
We've got Ruth Waddell coming from the East Coast. Mark Roberts is coming. We've got somebody that a lot of folks here in Manitoba don't know, and that is John Graff. If you page up a little bit, you'll see John Graff's image there. He's one of the most interesting people that you'll want to meet. Trust me on this.
What is it about John that's so interesting?
He's created, he and his group in Saskatchewan have created a parallel economy, which you can become a part of. They have professionals, producers. They've even got their own bank system, and they're running this parallel economy that you can become part of. And this year, this all sounds insane, but it's absolutely true. I spoke at their annual general meeting in Saskatchewan 2-3 weeks ago. This year, their process is to set up a small alternative healthcare system. And they're doing it, folks. It's incredible. So come out and listen to John. And for those of you who think you know Mark Trozzi is really a hero. He's lost everything. He was attacked by the College of Physicians and Surgeons, lost his position, lost his job. He lost his license. He had to sell his cottage. I think he's sold his house. He stood up for Canadians, and we really need to support Mark Trozzi. So,
yeah, there's so many people who have given up so much. I mean, I did a little monologue about you before I brought you on, Ken, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, at least not on the show, on your 6 or 7 appearances on the show now. You're past the steak knives deal now. I don't know what to get for the 10 appearances that obviously will happen at some point, but what motivated you? What really and still motivates you to keep going forward? I mean, you've done your bit, man. I think that you've done a fantastic job, and you've produced 1,000-pages reports. You've sat through hours and hours listening to people tell their stories. You've revealed so much. What is it that keeps you going on this?
Maybe this is going to sound stupid, but I didn't even understand it myself when it started. It goes back a long way in our family, my grandfather and my great-grandfather, who, I have to admit, were not the best people in the world. But in 1914, when the call came out, both of them volunteered and went to Europe from Canada. My great-grandfather was already an elderly man, and he lied about his age. And so he went as well. And both of them, my great-grandfather was wounded after, I think it was in fall of 1915. And that's when they discovered he was too old and they shipped him back. My grandfather was wounded 3 times, and he was there for the duration. Now, that's not an uncommon story for folks. But my father, this is where it comes out. My father was 20 at the time the Second World War started. So he was 20 years old, fit as a fiddle. He was not allowed to go because when he was a young teen, he got scarlet fever and his eyes were very bad. His eyesight was terrible. Now, where is this all going? My father regretted that all of his life. He carried that shame all of his life that he couldn't go along with his friends and defend the country. And he put his life on hold throughout that whole period of time in respect for what is going on. And to be honest, when I thought about him and I thought about what he carried for all of his life, I didn't want to carry that. I didn't want to have my grandson come to me and say, "Grandpa, where were you?" So call it what you will. You can say that I did it out of fear for the future. But I know what that kind of thing can do to people when you tried or you couldn't act or you're prevented from acting and you didn't, and then you carry that. And I didn't want to carry that.
And still, you're willing to shell out thousands of your own dollars, Ken. I mean, we've privately talked about you paying for certain things. I'm not going to go into detail about it. You haven't made money from this. And, the accusations that you get, I'm sure, still probably can be stinging. But people, I don't think people quite understand why we do this. We're not here for the money. You're going to the pocket here for this event, for the Canada Stronger Together. You're bringing these people here. I'm not sure exactly how much you're into this for, and I'm not going to ask because that's rude. My grandfather would tell me, "What are you doing? You don't ask." And so I'm not going to ask. But it's pretty plausible that you could lose some money on this.
Well, I mean,
and look, let me finish this. And so when we talk about the ticket prices for this event, and people see it, and maybe there's a little bit of sticker shock because they see what is the price here? Do I scroll down here and where is it?
It's on the event page. No, you're on the event page. Go right down. I think it's about $250 for 3 days. That includes, by the way, 6 meals. So the regular ticket price, which by the way goes up to $262 on June 7th, just because we have to tell the caterers how many people are coming tomorrow, and any additions to that cost us a little more. But $259, Shadow. That includes 6 full sit-down meals plus all of the speakers coming in. I'm going to talk a little bit about an AI assistant that we have on our website, on the conference website, and you can't
use AI. It's evil. What are you doing?
I know. We'll get to that too.
All right. Okay.
There's conferences going on at the same time that are 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 meals, and they're $750. That conference that Rebel News had in Toronto, the Rumble Live, that was like $700, $1,100 to go for a day. And so, out of the $249 price, I think about $140 or so of that is the food service. We're providing you with coffee. We're providing you with water. We're providing you with breakfasts and suppers and lunches. And then, so you take that off right away. And then we're flying in most of the guest speakers because they can't pay for that themselves. So we're paying for that. We're paying for the hall rental. We have security there. We have to pay the AV guys. I think the AV guys are costing us $10,000.
Wow.
So
wow.
It's not. This is important, and I hope people don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. This is not meeting in a field somewhere and cut off jeans, screaming freedom at the top of your lungs until you can't speak anymore. That's not what this is about. And we've put a lot of work into the program. And if I can just for a few moments, this is not a talking head program. Talking head program. You go into it, there's a podium and there's some person standing behind it and blah, 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 blah. And then the next one gets up and probably around 2:00 in the afternoon, you're falling asleep and you sneak out to go to the bar. Well, this isn't like that. On Sunday afternoon, when we're done, you're going to be excited, but you're going to be tired. We don't have any talking head speakers. We have a series of 6 panel discussions, and Shadow is moderating them, by the way, folks. And we're covering a variety of topics with people from across the country giving you their perspective, and even people from different communities giving you their perspective. They have the guts to come out and do this. And these are 90-minute segments, and you've got with any luck, there's going to be some time for audience interaction on that. So, and that's the kind of thing we're doing. Now, in addition to that, we have something called Frontline Perspectives. And if you page down or scroll down a little bit on that screen that you've got there, We've got an event called Frontline Perspectives, which happens on Saturday. Oh, by the way, what's going across right now, if you click on that thing, that's where you buy your tickets. It takes you to Eventbrite. But anyway, I just got distracted because that's where you buy your tickets. But if you keep scrolling down, we have something called Saturday morning after panel 1 at 11 a.m. You can see it's there. It says Frontline Perspectives. This is something really incredible. It's like speed dating for freedom leaders. So we have 10 freedom leaders coming from across the country. Each one has 10 minutes. They get up, they tell you who they are, what they're about, tell you the successes, the failures, ask for your help. You can ask them for help, and the next one comes up. And they have 10 of those lined up back to back. Now, cool. on this agenda you're looking, if you click on Shadow, if you click on, let's say, litigating for liberty, and what that does is it'll take you to another screen, and it'll actually explain to you what in the heck this panel's about. So again, if you scroll down there, you can see what the panel is about, and it tells you how it's organized. And then if you keep scrolling down on that panel,
it's not moving on here.
Oh, isn't it? Oh, I guess it froze up on you. No. Oh, okay, just push the white X there up in the corner, and it'll go back on the right hand side. Right. Yep. There we go.
All right. Yeah.
So
okay, there we go. All right.
So there's no talking head speech after speech after speech. These are all panels about things like the education system, litigation. What's going on in litigation in Canada? If you scroll down a little bit more past panel 2 there, you'll see, there we go, navigating the media landscape. We have Rodney Palmer in for that. We have Julie Levesque from Quebec in. You'll see in the evening on Saturday, that's when our discussion with the Harpers come up. If you, on Sunday, you'll see that we've got a panel on building resilient communities, panel on safeguarding our food supply. What that's about is we're talking about the late regulations and culling and stuff that the government's doing. And we have a talk about...
Well, I guess I can ask. I'm not going to ask you. You're not the expert on this stuff. I'll ask the guys at the thing in a couple of weeks, because we hear about these poisons and the chemicals that they're constantly pouring into our food supply and our water. And how do we get rid of that? How do we stop that from happening? But these guys hopefully will have the answers to that stuff.
Absolutely, and they'll talk to you about some things that a lot of you people might not be aware of, and that is the regulations they're bringing to stop food production. Yeah, I did say that. They're stopping food production in a lot of areas. Now, as if that's not enough, the next thing that you're seeing there is we have information tables for various organizations. And I think we have 20 in total, so we have 6 left. And what happens there is organizations can come in, and these aren't selling tables. They're not selling you knitted hats and toques and stuff. These are freedom groups who come in, they set up on a table, they give you their information, they'll have people manning those stations, and you can learn firsthand from these folks exactly what they're doing. Again, although we're giving you all these things to do, all these panels and all these times to socialize and whatnot, the whole intent here is to get people together from coast to coast. The whole intent is that I'm not a two-dimensional talking head on a screen. People are 4-dimensional creatures. You got a height, width, depth, and you have a soul. Those are the 4 dimensions in my mind. And when you're watching me or Shadow even on the screen, you have a 2-dimensional person and you do not connect. You might think you do, but you don't. And we're having a lot of division. We're having a lot of separation across the country in the freedom movement. And of course, the government's rubbing their hands together, just loving that. But a lot of it's got to do with don't even talk to each other. And if you don't connect on a human basis with people, that leads to all kinds of issues. So, as if all of that isn't enough, we've actually got a secure boardroom there in the facility. And if 2 groups come together and they're having problems, we're inviting them to use that facility. And I've had tremendous experience in mediation and arbitration, and we will help them get through those issues. So if you have an issue, if you've got a problem with another freedom group, or you want to know something, we will provide those facilities to you, plus an arbitrator, to mend these fences and move forward as a group.
Wow. So I'm looking at the schedule here for Friday. because as you say, there's going to be a lot of assimilating information for everybody who's there. But they're going to want to wind down. So we've got some live entertainment, James Creasy, some bar service happening on the Friday night, and the same with the Saturday night. But Ken, I see that things are wrapping up at 8:30 at night on Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
What are people? I mean, I understand that we're going to be in a small town here in Beausejour, Manitoba. What are we supposed to do after that? Go right to bed or look for something else to do, like a bush party where we can go and scream freedom at the top of our lungs?
Well, I want you to be rested on Saturday morning, because when you look at Saturday, you get into this thing at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're hard into it till 8 o'clock at night. And like I said, folks, this is not going to be I'm not even sure a conference is the right term for it, but this is not going to be a meeting where you come in because the boss sent you there and you're going to sneak out to the bar in the afternoon. First, there is no bar there. And secondly, there's just going to be too much to do and too many things to participate in. Your participation isn't putting your bum on a chair and sitting there for 8 hours. You're going to be able to talk to people. As a matter of fact, Shadow, I'll let you in on a little thing. On Friday night when we do the opening ceremonies, we're going to ask people that, you see those people that you came with tonight? Don't see them for the rest of the weekend. We want you to have lunch with other people. We want you to have coffee with people you don't know. Limber up your hand to shake hands with people you've never met, because that's what this is about. The panels are fantastic, but this is about reconnecting people on a human level, face to face, belly button to belly button, breathing the same air, talking, working things out. It's a free market of ideas. That's what this is about.
And solution-based ideas, or possibly, I can see so many different things being maybe not solved, but moved forward on a weekend like this. Because as you say, when you don't get a chance to see somebody face to face in person, hug that person, shake their hand, just be within their general vicinity, it's different. Like you say, we're two-dimensional beings on this screen people are watching right now, as opposed to living, breathing human beings. So that in and of itself, I believe, is a huge attraction. We're not going to be, and the other thing that you point out correctly is that, there's that other thing going on in Victoria that same weekend, and they're going to have, I'm not even sure who they're having, but some bigger names, a couple people from the United States and whatnot. So what purpose does that serve? It's cool to be able to say, I was there and I saw so-and-so. But ultimately, you're not really doing anything for yourself or your family or your community. And you're spending 3 times as much money to do that as opposed to this.
Well,
right?
Well, that's interesting, because this whole idea behind what we're doing is unity and getting people together. And so, believe it or not, I've been promoting that at other conference as well. If you're in Victoria or you're in Vancouver and you want to go to that conference, go to it. As a matter of fact, we had Jonathan Bauer, who's arranging that conference. We had him on our Zoom call 2 weeks ago, and we invited him last night, but he couldn't make it. So, when I talk about unity and when I talk about getting together, I mean it. And somebody said to me, "You're crazy. What are you promoting someone else's conference for?" Well, I am, because there's 40 million people in this country. And you think they can't fill up 1,500 people in Victoria and 850 in Beausejour? Of course they can.
No, you're right. And also to travel for a lot of people as well, right? I mean, like if you're stuck on the island, you haven't got a lot of money for travel, because it's expensive. I mean, let's be honest, right? You maybe go to the one in Victoria if you're in this vicinity, go to this one. But different kinds of events, right? Like that one is more about be seen. I was at this thing and I saw so-and-so Zuby speak. But this event, it's not just about meeting the stars, because quite frankly, none of us are. No. It's about getting together with people and discussing things and discussing ideas and coming up with solutions. And I love that idea. I love that idea. And what you guys have done has been so much work, but right from the heart, right?
Well, the solution that we need to have isn't going to come from big name Hollywood stars. It's going to come from people like you and I, the people that get up every morning and well, I guess I don't shave anymore, but the people that get up every morning and they go to work and they hug their grandchildren and they kiss their wife. This isn't about stardom. You know, all of the people on our agenda are from Canada. We're not importing people from the United States. The United States has nothing to teach us. And that's not me being prejudiced against the Americans. You know, I have two sons living down there. I have two sisters living there. My wife's got a sister living down there. We're connected at the hip with the Americans. But this is about Canada. We have a different system. And if you're the kind of person that wants to be inspired by sitting there and listening to Rock Hudson, it shows how old I am, talking on the stage, that's great. Go ahead.
Rock Hudson.
But if you want to get your fingers dirty, if you want to actually engage and have them hear what you have to say, and you want to be a part of that, and you want to work hard, because you will be working hard at this conference. You know, it's not all of us can just come out and shake hands and hug people we don't know and ask them about themselves. That's hard work for most people. And so you'll be working hard at this, but you don't gain anything by not working hard. You know, you've got to work at something, and it's got to be from us.
You know, it's interesting too. You have been traveling from municipality to municipality over the past year with Manitoba Stronger Together, trying to spread the word of public accountability in politics and building not necessarily voting blocks, but you have been getting people to try and become more engaged with their representatives, no matter the party.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting thing as a pitch. And I think I probably touched on this a couple of weeks ago when I first started talking about the conference, but perhaps, you know, if there are, let's say you guys watching this right now, let's say you're in Estevan, Saskatchewan, or maybe you're in Consort, Alberta, wherever you happen to be, and you've got a small freedom community there. You all can't come to the conference because you can't afford it, maybe. So maybe you send one person from your 6, 7, or 8 person group to come to the group to be the representative from Consort or Estevan or wherever, and come here, get the information, meet the people, make your contacts, and then come back with all of that information so you can all work on it together back home.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something like that, right?
You're absolutely right. You know, Saturday night, this past Saturday, after the hearings, the NCI hearings were over, I did attend a fundraiser for the Living Streams Institute. And I gave a pitch about this. And a lot of those folks are coming. Some of them are getting together and they're all packing up somebody's camper and they're driving out. So there's a convoy coming from the Fraser Valley here, and they're picking people up along the way. It's really interesting. So you can do some imaginative things, and what you're talking about is an imaginative thing. And also, by the way, we were talking the other day that folks were wondering who are coming in from out of town, where do they get accommodations out there? And it is on our website. If you keep on the page that we were, the events website on Manitoba Stronger Together, at the bottom we list all the accommodations, phone numbers, email addresses, etc., right at the bottom. And we actually have group pricing from a lot of these places. So if you book a hotel, just let them know you're with the Stronger Together conference. Keep going. There we go. Accommodations. And there's a spreadsheet at the bottom, which gives you all of these places. If you keep scrolling down, you'll find it. There we go. So we've listed for everybody. There are phone numbers, email addresses. We've actually negotiated deals with you. I hope they're still available because things have been booking up. So we've taken care of a lot of stuff for you. We recognize that where we are and where we're holding this thing is a bit of an unusual thing, but at the same time, it's not. You know, Beausejour is about a 40 minute drive from Winnipeg Airport. And I'll tell you what, try driving across Calgary in 40 minutes, or Montreal, or Toronto.
Good luck with that. Yeah, no way. No
Absolutely.
way.
It's just that we're
all
so
of these places here, I'm sorry to interrupt you, all of these places here are within half-hour drive of the event center in Beausejour. So it's not like you have to go far if you're staying at South Beach Casino or the Ken Alta in Selkirk or, Canada Inn Club Region. I mean, the thing is, you don't want people staying at a casino. That's a casino. You stay, they never leave. No,
Or no,
get
Billy
addicted.
broke.
No, I'm playing the machines. Leave me alone.
Hey, you know what? I just something just occurred to me.
Mm.
I'm the new oh gosh, what was his name? The KTEL guy. He just passed away a few years ago.
Don Curtin,
No,
the Bob
Kivas.
Washington.
Kivas.
Who?
Mr. Kivas was his last name. I can't think of his first name off the top of my head. In any case, I'm going to go back to being the KTEL guy, and if you bear with me for just a second,
What do you bring it out? A pasta maker or something?
I am going to
The
have
disc flipper.
this is volume 1 and volume 2 of the National Citizens Inquiry Report. Volume 1 and volume 2.
Oh,
There's 13 volumes, folks. The other 11 volumes are all of the sworn testimony by the witnesses. But I'm going to have 30 copies of these 2 books with me at the conference. I'm offering the 2 books to you, including tax, for $60. That's below what you can buy them for. You can go to Amazon and you can buy them there a fair bit more money than that. And if that's not enough, I'll even sign them for you as the chairman of the commissioners and one of the principal authors. And Bernard, Dr. Massey is going to be there. He was also one of the commissioners, and we will sign these for you if that's your thing. We will do it. So
you say you're the KTEL man. Kim says it slices, it dices, it makes julienne fries. I forgot about that.
Well, you know, it's
That's
something.
right.
You know, the full library or the full report on the National Citizens Inquiry. You can't see it. I'm looking over on it. It's like a set of encyclopedias. It's about that takes up about that much room on my shelf.
Wow.
So,
okay, so let me ask you, ticket sales, how are they moving? Are they going faster now? One thing I know about an event like this is that people will just decide to go last minute. And when I say last minute, like usually within 3 or 4 days, do you want to go? Do you want to go? And then all of a sudden, one day they wake up and they go, yeah, we're going. So they're picking up.
I'll be honest with you. Ticket sales has been slow in the last 3 or 4 days. They've really started to pick up. But if I was to say that I was really happy about the sales, I would be lying to you. We need folks to show up. You know, I wasn't raised in Winnipeg, but I was in Winnipeg for, I don't know how many years, 40, 50 years. And one of the things I always hear people saying is, nothing ever comes to Winnipeg. We're the last stop on the train, blah, 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 blah. Well, when we put on things like this and people decide not to show up, you know, we've got 750 or 800,000 people in Winnipeg. And we can't get enough people to fill up 850 seats in a conference that's this important.
Well, apparently it's 920,000 people now, according to the latest stats estimates, and that's a jump of 40,000 people in 1 year. Perhaps illegal immigration is something we can cover at the conference.
Well, you know, proportionally, our illegal immigration is much worse than the United States. All you hear about is the border, the border, the border, the border. Well, legally, we let 1 million people into the country last year. Now, if you project that to the American population, they're 10 times their size. That means they would have to have brought in 10 million last year. Mm-hmm. And that's not including the illegals. And I did say
the undocumented, and they don't even know how many undocumented are here. They say, get this one. And you're a numbers guy. You'll hate this. They say it's anywhere between 20 and 500,000. We don't know. Like, what? How can there be between 20,000 and 500,000? And where are they? And who are they, more importantly?
Yeah, well, right? We invite them to come too and let us know. You know?
Maybe they want to help. Maybe they want to get us back on solid ground.
I'm sure some of them want to help. But the problem is we don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the Liberals are suggesting an amnesty day for illegals so that they can come out of their hovels and apply for citizenship and then get it that day and not have to worry about hiding anymore.
Well, did you see Joe Biden out there today talking about how he's fixing the immigration system now and they're going to stop this and stop that? Well, they were the ones that did it for the last 3.5 years.
No, but Biden is over in France right now. I think D-Day. D-Day's tomorrow, right? Like the anniversary, the 80th anniversary. If we're talking about talking about the World War II, and they're bringing Zelensky from Ukraine. I think that's kind of an insult, considering that Ukraine is filled with Nazis. But that's just me.
No,
Ken, it's always a pleasure. So is there any last messages that we want to get to people before we wrap it up for tonight?
Yeah,
Anything at all?
You know what, folks? If you think it's over, it's not over. You know, I've been asked, I don't know how many times, how come you're doing it in Brandon, Ken? Well, I'll tell you why. Nobody in Winnipeg would rent us a facility. Nobody in Brandon would. Nobody in Portage la Prairie. Nobody in Winkler. Nobody in Steinbach. Nobody in Selkirk. Beausejour held open their arms and invited us in there. So if you think it's over, why is it that these facilities wouldn't welcome a nonpartisan event that's really based on getting people together and educating them? You think about that a little bit. So why are we in Beausejour? That's why, partly. And of course, once you're there, we've got you. You're not sneaking out to the mall.
There's nothing else to do in Beausejour.
But if you think it's over, folks, just look at what the Winnipeg Free Press published on January 15th of this year. They did an editorial called "The Unwanted Unvaxxed," and this insane person over at the Free Press said they were fantasizing about what would be written on the tombstones of all of those people that put us all at risk by not getting vaccinated. And then just this past week, a writer by the name of Kitchen there wrote about a true patriot, Sandra St. Cyr, who's running for the Louis Riel School Board on June 6th. That's tomorrow, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think it's over, folks, because you're able to go to the lake or you're maybe able to go to Miami for the weekend, it isn't over. There's a lot coming. So join us. Join our movement. Strengthen the ties in Canada. And let's get this battle won.
And thank you, as always, for coming on. Always so eloquent and to the point. And I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks or maybe sooner. You probably should have lunch before the event, just to make sure that we're both on the same page.
I think that's a good idea.
Take it easy, my friend. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come on.
Absolutely. There is Ken Drysdale of the National Citizens Inquiry, Manitoba Stronger Together, and now the Canada Stronger Together Conference. And, you know, guys, he's absolutely right. This is not over. That's why we keep doing this. That's why we keep fighting this battle. And there's people out there that probably have told you the same thing. Well, come on, now, everything's over. No, there's still so much going on. And we're going to get to it all on the extension on shadowdavis.com starting in 3 minutes. I just want to let you guys know that for the very first time, according to BRICS News, you know about the BRICS nations, Russia, China, Brazil, Iran. Russia has officially declared the United States an enemy for the very first time, for the first time ever. In a significant shift in geopolitical relations, the Kremlin has officially declared the United States an enemy amid ongoing tensions over Ukraine. The announcement comes from Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, citing this as part of a broader pattern of preventing U.S. citizens from interacting with Russia. This marks a notable change in Russia's rhetoric, moving from previous terms like unfriendly states or opponents to explicitly calling the United States an enemy. The stain in U.S.-Russia relations has been escalating, especially following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, although some people don't call it an invasion. The conflict has seen the West, led by the United States, NATO, providing significant support to Ukraine, which Russia perceives as direct involvement in the conflict. The U.S., for its part, has been increasingly critical of Russia's actions in Ukraine and has imposed various sanctions. The U.S. has also been supportive of Ukraine, providing military aid and allowing Ukraine to use American-supplied weapons to strike targets within Russia. This development is a clear indicator of the worsening relations between the U.S. and Russia, marking a new low in their diplomatic ties. The implications of this declaration are yet to be fully understood, but it could potentially lead to further escalations and tensions between the two superpowers. That was breaking news as of this morning. A couple of other things quickly. We have traitors. Traitors. When I say this, I don't say it lightly. I have seen many people posting on their social media sites for the last 3 years, traitor, 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 traitor. And that's fine. That's fine because there has been a lot of traitorous activity. Although I wouldn't necessarily have had some of it, most of it actually, risen to being a traitor, betraying your country. But now we know, according to that report that came out from that multi-party commission that was studying emails and messages and everything else regarding Chinese interference, and not just Chinese, Iranian interference, Indian interference in our electoral process and more. We now know that there are elected officials and possibly some bureaucrats within government who have been willfully and knowingly providing secret information to hostile governments. Now, the government at this point refuses to name who these people are. Pierre Poilievre was asking today in the House of Commons question period who they are. We'll have clips of that later on for you in the extension. This is what Jagmeet Singh had to say about that today.
First of all, the allegations that members of parliament knowingly are working with or have worked with foreign governments to interfere in our democracy are deeply, deeply troubling. What's even more troubling is that the Prime Minister knew about this since March and has done nothing about it. And the Conservative leader doesn't want to know about it, has no interest in learning what's happened, doesn't want to get the clearance, doesn't want to look at any documents.
Well, now, hold on for a second. I'm not sure when this was recorded, but Pierre Poilievre did stand up in question period in the House of Commons today and explicitly asked the question, name them, in regards to these MPs who have been willfully disseminating information to hostile governments. So this is a lie. And as far as getting clearance, Pierre Poilievre chose not to get clearance to see the documents, and the reason for that was because he feels he shouldn't have the clearance to see these documents if all Canadians don't have it. So what is he going to do with the information if he can't share it with anybody? What's the point? I'm going to be in your little secret club so I know who the names are. Big deal. It doesn't matter unless you can tell Canadians who they are and what they did. What is the point? And these guys on the far left sit there and say, well, you didn't get the clearance, so it's your fault you don't know. No. These guys are so cockeyed and topsy-turvy and twisted and bizarro. It's amazing. But anyway, let's finish the last 18 seconds of this.
Why is the question? Why has the Prime Minister done nothing about it? And why does the Conservative leader want to not know about it? Is it because...
So he's politicking. He is obviously making it political. In my opinion, this should not be political. I don't care who these people are or what party they represent, Conservative, NDP, Bloc, Liberal. I don't care. I want their names. And I want them put up on charges immediately. Immediately. That's a high crime. Treason, man. That is a high crime. Betraying your country. Think about that. That is where we are right now as a country. Did you ever think? Like, we've seen bad governments before. We've all seen bad governments before, right? But nothing as bad as what we've seen in the past 9 years since the Liberals and Justin Trudeau have been in power. And it's only gotten worse. You would think that at some point they would understand, oh, you know what? We can't do this. We can't have this many scandals all the time. They've got 4 scandals going right now. Right now. 4. Here's more from Jagmeet.
But you say confidently that none of those MPs are in your caucus or have been in an NDP caucus federally?
I have no reason to believe and no evidence in front of me, and I've heard no information that in any way suggests new Democrat members of Parliament. But I want to get more information. That's why I requested a classified briefing. I will be receiving that briefing and looking at that information to confirm. I've not received, but I've demanded the briefing.
He doesn't get anything because he's the leader of the NDP. Right? Like, so overblown. The only thing they have is just enough seats to keep the Liberals in power. And that's what he's doing. It's absolutely, that in itself, in and of itself, is traitorous. So look, you've got Poilievre standing up in the House of Commons today asking, who are they? You've got Jagmeet Singh there saying he's confident there's no NDP. And then you've got the Liberals who are saying, well, we're not going to name names in the, for the matter of national security. So, in my opinion, it's obviously Liberals. They're the government. They're the ones who hold the secrets. The opposition doesn't have access to the information that the government does. Now, I'm not saying all Liberal MPs have this information, only those who are in cabinet. So what we need to do is look at the 40 or so cabinet members in the Liberal Party and then try and figure out who they are. Maybe we'll play treason bingo at some point next week. And we'll start picking the ones that we think are the most. It's probably going to be somebody that we don't really pay much attention to, but there's probably more than one as well. In the meantime, if you are looking for something to do, let me give this to you. This is liberal.ca, guys. This is not rocket science. Liberal.ca. These are all of the Liberal MPs who are sitting members of Parliament right now. All of them, all 158, all on this page. Liberal.ca. So what you can do if you're looking for something to do is you can go on this page and then you can message each and every one of them. Or you can go on their Facebook pages or Instagram and comment on one of the posts that they've made and ask questions. Who are the traitors? I've done that today. I did it with Adam Van Koeverden and a bunch of these guys I've never heard of before, like this Angelo Iacono. There's a lot of them you've never heard of before because they're backbenchers, right? But they're all on here. So go to their, see, it gives you their Facebook, Instagram connection right there, right there. So you can go to their social media and you can start asking questions. Embarrass them on social media. And you can sit there and say, Shadow, they're just going to erase the comments. Well, then keep making them. Don't be rude about it to get yourself banned or blocked or anything. Just keep asking, who are the traitors in your party? And if we can get 500 of you guys who are watching this right now to go ahead and do that, like, line it up in the comments. Go ahead and say, okay, I'll take Van Koeverden and you take Hussein and you take Mendes. We could actually get them concerned. They are going to think that because they never hear from people. That's the problem. That's the reason these people have become so entitled, because nobody ever says anything. And the reason we never say anything, this is the perfect system for corruption. The reason we never say anything is because we think nobody's listening. So I am telling you right now, look, we're gathered here. There's about 1,200 of us all watching this, and there's going to be 12,000, maybe 14 or 15,000 people who watch this show in the next 24 to 72 hours. So if we can get 10% of you guys, or 50, even better, to go ahead and start messaging these clowns or commenting on their Facebook posts, who's the traitor? Start naming names. Just say that stuff. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Be a troll. Scare them. Make them think that people are very concerned. This will make this Liberal caucus put pressure on Justin Trudeau to either step down or start naming names. Coming clean. Call an election. That is how we get them to start doing what we want them to do. Right now, they think they're scot-free. They think they can do anything they want because we're not paying attention. And we have to stop letting them think that way. All right, guys, more coming up in the extension on shadowdavis.com. So if you're not a member, I suggest you become one right now. SHADOEDAVIS.com. We'll see you there in a couple of minutes. And if you choose not to, you want to stay here on the outside, getting your stuff for free, getting the limited version of the show, that's fine too. We'll catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. Tomorrow night, Tom Quiggin from Veterans for Freedom is on the show. We'll talk to you then. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Bye for now. The extension on shadowdavis.com starts in 2 minutes.